So I'm Helen Picard, and I just want to tell you a little bit about the Pennacook. So the land that became North Andover was obtained from the Pennacook people, and in 1646, when the Massachusetts General Court recognized Andover, because we split off later to become North Andover, but when they recognized us in 1646, they also recognized a Pennacook man called Roger. And Roger, in that court document, retained the liberty to fish and to cultivate 4 acres of land. So if you look at our town seal, you can think about the story of Roger. Sadly, about 30 years after we were established, 90% of the Pennacook people of the Merrimack Valley had died from exposure to European diseases. That wasn't just North Andover, that was all over the valley. So this year we asked the North Andover Board of Selectmen to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October annually. So they'll be making a proclamation on September 24th to recognize Indigenous peoples, and that will help us to shine a light on part of our story that often goes untold.
If everyone will remember, we discussed when Ms. Picard and others came to our meeting several meetings ago to make the suggestion that we recognize Columbus Day also as Indigenous Peoples Day, and there was a lot of community support in the meeting for that, and we agreed to make a proclamation in that order in the meeting prior to Columbus Day. So I will read that proclamation. Whereas the town of North Andover recognizes that the indigenous peoples of the land that would later become known as the Americas have occupied these lands since time immemorial and values the progress our society has accomplished through American Indian technology, thought, and culture. And whereas the town of North Andover understands that government entities, organizations, and other public institutions should update their policies and practices to better reflect the experiences of American Indian people and uplift our country's indigenous roots, history, and contributions. And whereas Indigenous Peoples Day was first proposed in 1977 by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations, sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in the Americas. And whereas in 1990, representatives from 120 Native nations at the First Continental Conference on 500 Years of Indian Resistance unanimously passed a resolution to transform Columbus Day into an occasion to strengthen the process of continental unity and struggle towards liberation, and thereby use the occasion to reveal a more accurate historical record. And whereas the United States federal government, the state of Massachusetts, and the town of North Andover recognize Columbus Day on the second Monday of October in accordance with the federal holiday established in 1937. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Selectmen that the town of North Andover shall also recognize Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October. Be it further resolved that the town of North Andover shall continue its efforts to promote the well-being and growth of the American Indian and Indigenous community. Be it further resolved that the Indigenous Peoples Day shall be used to reflect upon the ongoing struggles of Indigenous peoples on this land and to celebrate the thriving culture and value that Indigenous nations add to our town. Be it further resolved, the town of North Andover encourages other businesses, organizations, and public entities to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day in conjunction with Columbus Day. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the town of North Andover to be affixed this 24th day of September in the year 2018. So, there we have it. I will sign that item.